We need to change the way we talk about cancer. Traditionally, we've been taught that cancer is a stroke of bad luck or a genetic death sentence. But in my professional opinion, this perspective is outdated and honestly, a bit dangerous. After decades of looking at cellular data, I've come to realize that we are all walking around with microscopic cancers. It is an established biological fact. As we age, our cells make mistakes. By age 40, a significant percentage of women have microscopic clusters in their breast tissue. By 70, most men have them in their prostate. But here is where my take differs from the standard fear-mongering. These aren't diseases yet. They are just cellular errors. They only become dangerous if your internal environment allows them to. I believe that the most important factor in your health isn't the presence of these cells, but the strength of your defense systems. We are talking about your immune system's ability to patrol and destroy. Think of your body as a high-security building. Intruders, these microscopic cells, will always try to get in. But if your security guards, your natural killer, NK cells, are well-fed and alert, the intruder never makes it past the lobby. This isn't just theory, it's about biological resilience. Modern research in 2026 is showing that our inflammatory state acts as the soil. If the soil is toxic, the weed grows. If the soil is healthy, the seed dies. So, my advice to you today isn't to live in fear of a diagnosis, but to become the master of your internal terrain. We are going to move past the surface-level health tips and dive into the specific molecular triggers that force these cells into permanent dormancy. Let's look at the first line of defense: green tea. Now, I know you've heard this before, but I suspect you've been doing it wrong. In my practice, I've seen people drink gallons of tea with zero results. Why? Because they treat it like a casual beverage rather than a molecular tool. The secret is EGCG, a catechin that literally starves tumors by preventing angiogenesis, the growth of new blood vessels. My personal observation is that people often use boiling water, which destroys these delicate polyphenols. Science tells us that EGCG is heat-sensitive. If you scald the leaves, you're just drinking flavored water. I recommend a precise protocol: 175 degrees Fahrenheit. This allows the EGCG to remain intact. Latest 2026 longitudinal studies from the Asia-Pacific Journal of Cancer Prevention have confirmed that the dosage is the key. You need a consistent plasma concentration, which means 3 to 5 cups spread throughout the day. In my view, green tea acts like a protective coating for your digestive tract. When you sip it, you are bathing your esophagus and stomach in a solution that makes it nearly impossible for abnormal cells to recruit the blood supply they need to grow beyond 2 millimeters. Without blood, a tumor is just a harmless speck. I often tell my patients, think of EGCG as a starvation tactic. It doesn't just attack the cell, it cuts off the supply lines. And for those who want the Pro Max version, my take is to switch to matcha once a day. Because you are consuming the whole leaf, you're getting 10 times the concentration. This is how we move from drinking tea to implementing a bioactive defense strategy. Now, let's move to something I am truly passionate about: cruciferous vegetables, specifically broccoli and its sprouts. This is where we enter the world of epigenetics. I believe this is the most exciting frontier in medicine. We used to think our genes were our destiny, but science now proves that foods like broccoli act as light switches for your DNA. They contain a molecule called sulforaphane. When you eat it, it travels to your cells and activates a pathway called NRF2. This isn't just an antioxidant, it's a signal that tells your body to produce its own, much more powerful internal antioxidants. My opinion is that we should stop buying expensive supplements and start growing medicine on our kitchen counters. Broccoli sprouts are, in my eyes, the single most concentrated source of anti-cancer nutrition on the planet. They have 100 times the sulforaphane of a mature head of broccoli. Latest research from Johns Hopkins and clinical trials in 2025 have shown that just 50 grams of these sprouts daily can significantly reduce DNA damage markers in your blood. I've noticed that when my followers on X, Twitter, start adding sprouts to their diet, their inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein drop within weeks. But here is the Dr. Mike secret. You must chew them thoroughly or blend them raw. The reaction that creates sulforaphane requires an enzyme called myrosinase, which is released when the plant tissue is crushed. If you cook them too long, you kill the enzyme. My advice? Eat them raw in a smoothie or as a garnish. You are essentially hacking your genetic expression to stay in a state of high defense. Let's talk about a food that most low-carb advocates tell you to avoid: the purple potato. I strongly disagree with the blanket ban on potatoes, and here is why. The deep violet pigment in these potatoes comes from anthocyanins, the same compounds found in blueberries, but in a much more stable form. My take on the purple potato is that it is a specialized tool for killing cancer stem cells. This is critical because as a researcher, I see it all the time. A patient goes into remission, the tumor is gone, but years later it returns. Why? Because the seeds, the stem cells, survived. Traditional treatments are great at killing the leaves of the cancer, but they often miss the roots. Research from Pennsylvania State University has shown that purple potato extract can suppress colon cancer stem cells by 50% or more. I believe this is because these anthocyanins target the signaling pathways that allow stem cells to multiply. But there is a second layer to this. I suggest you cook these potatoes and then let them cool in the fridge overnight. This process creates resistant starch. This starch isn't digested in your small intestine. It travels to your colon where it feeds your beneficial bacteria, producing butyrate. In my opinion, butyrate is one of the most underrated anti-inflammatory molecules in human biology. So, by eating a cooled purple potato, you are performing a double strike, killing cancer stem cells with anthocyanins while starving systemic inflammation with resistant starch. This is how you use food as a high-level pharmaceutical. If I had to pick one fruit to be prescribed by every doctor, it would be the pomegranate, but not for the reason you think. It's not just about the vitamin C. It's about a class of compounds called elagitannins. When you drink pomegranate juice, these compounds are broken down by your gut microbiome into something called urolithins. Now, pay attention, because this is the latest 2026 science. Urolithins are one of the only known substances that can trigger mitophagy, the process where your body cleans out old, damaged mitochondria and replaces them with young, healthy ones. I believe that cancer is, at its core, a disease of broken mitochondria. But it gets better. Pomegranate is the primary fuel for a specific bacteria called Akkermansia muciniphila. My clinical perspective is that Akkermansia is the general of your immune system. If you have high levels of this bacteria, your body responds significantly better to cancer immunotherapy. I've seen studies where the presence of this one bacteria was the deciding factor in whether a treatment worked or failed. I recommend 8 ounces of pure, unsweetened juice daily. It stimulates your gut to produce a thick mucus layer, which is the perfect habitat for these hero bacteria to thrive. My advice to you is to stop looking for a magic pill and start nourishing the biological allies you already have. When your Akkermansia levels are high, your immune system becomes primed. It's smarter, faster, and much more efficient at spotting those microscopic intruders we talked about at the beginning. As we wrap this up, I want to give you my honest conclusion. Science gives us the data, but you have to provide the discipline. These 5 foods, green tea, broccoli sprouts, papaya, purple potatoes, and pomegranate, are not just healthy options. In my view, they are part of a survival protocol for the 21st century. We live in an environment full of toxins and stress, which act as fuel for those microscopic cancers. But you have the power to flip the script. I believe that the real future of medicine isn't just about better drugs. It's about better biological engineering through nutrition. Every time you choose a cup of matcha over a soda, or purple potatoes over fries, you are sending a signal to your DNA. You are telling your body to stay in defense mode. My final piece of advice? Don't try to be perfect. Just be consistent. I've noticed that the patients who have the most success are the ones who make these 5 foods a non-negotiable part of their lifestyle. They don't see it as a diet. They see it as fuel for longevity. I am convinced that if we all adopted these science-backed doses, we would see a massive shift in global health statistics. Remember, you have thousands of microscopic cancers in you right now. Don't be afraid of them. Just don't give them what they need to grow. Starve the disease, feed the defense, and take control of your cellular destiny. This is the Dr. Mike way. I'll be sharing more of these protocols on my X, Twitter, and here on the channel. Subscribe if you're ready to take your health to the Pro Max level. I'm Dr. Mike. Stay healthy, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.